What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at the legendary merch that came from Kanye West's iconic The Life of Pablo era, along with some dope footage and much more. Now before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to the homie Strain Beats who's been cooking up the beats for these videos, so make sure you guys check them out. And while you're here, you might as well drop a like and subscribe and join our free Discord to stay up to date with the latest and the greatest. Shout out to all of my chefs in there. And if you're interested in picking up some more iconic and legendary merch, I've got my first collection available at my website at wedontcookfood.com, and thank you so much for considering supporting the channel. Now, since things have seemingly slowed down or even stopped abruptly with Ye's current Vultures rollout, and since I've gained so many new subscribers related to Ye, I wanted to give you guys something to watch in the meantime that I think you guys will truly appreciate. I originally uploaded this video about 7 months ago, so some of the dates may be incorrect, but I think you guys can really see how dope this Pablo era was, and let me know in the comments if you actually picked up anything from this time. What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and today's video takes us back to 2016, 7 years ago for Kanye West, The Life of Pablo merch drop. And also stay tuned to see some merch that I picked up when I saw Kanye on the Pablo tour, along with some clips from the show. And you might not be thinking that there's a whole lot to this actual Pablo merch, and I agree to some extent, but by the end of this video you'll see the actual history of it, along with some of the more notable pieces. And as you can see, back in 2017, the merch was actually nominated for one of the world's best design awards. Let me know in the comments if you agree by the end of this video. Now, The Life of Pablo dropped in February of 2016, and my top 3 songs are probably Saint Pablo, Fade, and FML. Let me know what your favorite song is in the comments. Now let's take a look at the actual merch drop that had to do with the album all the way back in 2016, 7 whole years ago. As you can see, there was some variety to the initial drop itself, and I know that there are a whole lot more pieces, but we'll go ahead and acknowledge that a little bit later in this video. Now the first thing I wanted to point out about this Saint Pablo drop is the fact that the prices on these were pretty consistent. This was back in 2016, but as you can see, the tees were going for $45. And by today's standards, that would be around $57, which, as we saw, the price of tees on this latest Travis Scott Utopia merch drop is about standard and normal. Now throughout this video, I'm also going to be showing examples of the merch, and as you can see, Kanye was actually a fan of this merch as well. And the fact that you can see him rocking these same $45 t-shirts back in 2016, it definitely translated well with the fans like myself and inspired me to want to get them. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'll also be showing off some footage from the show. Personally, it's one of my favorite shows of all time, and the merch to me is priceless despite the fact that there wasn't a whole lot going on. Now we will go ahead and of course take a deeper look at some of these pieces, but this is just what the front of them all look like. And this is of course not the first or the last time that Kanye would use a camo inspired print. And the other thing I wanted to point out of course is the fact that the price has increased of course with these long sleeves and crew necks, as to be expected. Now this airbrush in loving memory of Donda tee is very special to Kanye and very legendary, and we'll be taking a closer look at it here in just a second. Now along with that legendary airbrush tee, we also have the Kim K tennis tees right here, or long sleeves, and I personally picked up that black one and wore the hell out of it. I did pick it up at his show, and we'll go ahead and show it off here a little bit later in this video. Now as with any great merch drop, you gotta have some cozy sweatpants, so here we have some variety with a pair for $70, and here we have some long sleeve hoodies right here. Now if you wanted to get your hands on something like this today, the most recent sale was $290 as you can see, and with an initial retail price of $95 all the way back 7 years ago, as you can see the price has definitely jumped up. Now this next tee right here is one of my favorites, and it features Kanye on that levitating platform. You'll see later in the video, but if you didn't know, during the Pablo tour, he was basically hovering over the crowd the whole time. Now next up we have these champion printed Saint Pablo shorts to give you an idea of the quality that they were printing on. And I'll go ahead and say it now that all of my pieces felt like they were printed on Gildan, which back in 2016 especially, the quality of it was not the best. Now if you also picked up pieces from any of these drops, let me know in the comments, because I think it'd be interesting to know just how your pieces are holding up, because the few pieces that I still have from 2016 are not in the best condition just from regular use and washing. Now I did want to show you guys how some of these pieces were customizable from this first wave, and as you can see, this piece has the option to select and customize which show was actually attended. When you click on that Rosemont selection, you can see all the various shows that Kanye of course performed at the initial start of the St. Pablo tour, and personally I think it's so cool to see my Tampa date on there. This is one of my favorite pieces, and I also wanted to show you guys what it looked like on some different people here. And when I tell you I saw this merch everywhere, I'm telling you I saw this merch everywhere. You couldn't go to the mall or anywhere without seeing somebody wearing this tee, especially if it was in a city where they actually performed at and they were able to grab it. Now next up we've got this legendary airbrushed in loving memory to Donda tee, and if you didn't know, there's actually a back to it which features an in loving memory graphic to Rob Kardashian, the father of none other than Kim of course, so the fact that Kanye kind of dedicated this tee to both of their parents who they both lost, I think is pretty special, all BS and politics aside. Now, for the same price of $45, you could pick it up, and Kanye was actually spotted wearing this very often, which is no surprise because he obviously loves and misses his mom Donda. Now check out his Yeezus era hat right there, which I think is pretty sick as well. Now next up we're taking a look at the Pablo merch that I probably personally wore the most of. This is the Kim tennis long sleeve, and I thought it was so hard that it featured the St. Pablo logo on the front, and then of course had that big graphic of Kim on the back. Now I did wear this a lot, and from regular use that graphic on the back started to crack, but it is what it is because it was screen printed, and that's kind of what you get with it. Now Kim was spotted wearing this merch very often, so I just wanted to include some photos just to give you an idea of just how big this Pablo merch was and how it was influencing everybody in the industry. I'm talking everybody was trying to get their hands on some kind of Kanye merch, and if you want to get your hands on it today, it's about double the retail here, with the last price being $156. Now I did have to of course shout out the artist, who was none other than Callie Thornhill DeWitt, who actually worked with Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love way back in the day, so you already know this guy's a real one. And again, I think it's so raw to see that metal, grunge, and punk influence when it comes to Kanye. I did want to point out one of my favorite pieces to come from this Pablo era, which was the I Feel Like Kobe tee, which Kanye created and wore for Kobe Bryant's last game as an LA Laker at the Staples Center. And before I go any further, of course I gotta give a special shout out and rest in peace to Kobe, one of my favorite athletes of all time. For those of you that didn't know, Kanye and Kobe's relationship goes back quite some time. I wanted to share one of my favorite commercials between the two of them just so you could see.
How much more do you want from me?
More.
How much more successful do you want me to be?
More successful.
How many records can my records break?
More records.
But I'm the best.
But are you a different animal and the same beast?
What the does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
You're welcome.
What the is he talking about?
Now rest in peace to the Black Mamba one more time. Like I mentioned, this Pablo era definitely had its fair share of legendary moments, including this Yeezy Season 3 album release event where Kanye ended up previewing his upcoming Yeezy Season 3 line along with the actual album. He was of course joined by the likes of Pusha T, Kid Cudi, and even Travis Scott. And as I mentioned throughout every single one of these merch related videos, I think it's always super important for the actual artist to be seen wearing their merch. If you don't believe in your own merch, then why should any of your fans? And something that I wanted to point out just a little bit later in this video as well is the fact that there was some exclusive merch when it came to the shows, so you did have the chance to get something that other people couldn't get their hands on. Now here's the late Virgil Abloh, who's seen wearing an unreleased shirt at the time, but of course the album related merch right here. Now, like I mentioned, there were some opportunities to pick up some exclusives. Kanye, being the creative genius that he is, decided to have 21 different pop-up shops around the world where people were able to pick up exclusive pieces just for that region. For example, there was New York themed Pablo merch, there was Los Angeles themed Pablo merch, Paris themed Pablo merch, and you get the point. Personally, I think that this is kind of a dope idea because it allows people to get exclusive pieces that not everybody's able to get their hands on. And everybody from resellers to even David Beckham and his family here were lining up to get this Pablo themed merch. Despite there being rules in place at almost every store to try to limit the amount of merch that was purchasable by one single person, there were always resellers like this guy that were walking away and cashing out while others were just forced to look from the line. I know it's always super trippy when you see something like that for the first time, and I'm not here to knock on anybody's hustle. I also wanted to point out the retail prices of all of the Pablo merch that I did find that was available online. Now, to follow this up, I wanted to show off the actual pieces I picked up from the show that I attended, and although the pieces feel pretty cheap quality wise, I still wear them to this day, and to me they're personally priceless. It was always one of my dreams to see Kanye perform, and this was especially back in the day, and I also wanted to include this flyer that I got from the show itself. Now, coming up in just a couple of moments, we'll go ahead and see some actual clips from that show just so you can get an idea, but I also wanted to go ahead and show you an unfolded look at one of the St. Pablo tees. And again, let me know in the comments what you think about the overall aesthetic of this Pablo merch. Now, if you made it this far in the video, I just wanted to shout you out for watching it, and thank you so much for checking it out. You're a real one. Let me know in the comments what you think, and personally, I think this Pablo era definitely saw some legendary pieces. As always, guys, thank you so much for cooking with the kitchen. It's lit. Stay safe, straight up, and peace, guys. And you might as well drop a like and subscribe while you're here.